Hey guys, good morning, good morning. Well, maybe not for you. Good afternoon for some of you. So we just finished up reviewing Unit 4, and so as I told you guys, we're going to circle back and we're going to work on Unit 3. Okay, this one's a really short unit. Not a whole lot of information via College Board curriculum, but all equally important. Okay, remember, in period 2, you have two types of empires. We've already talked about the maritime-based empires, the 5 major empires in Europe: Britain, the Netherlands, France, Spain, and Portugal. Now we're going to talk about the land-based empires, guys. And remember, the big difference between land-based and maritime-based empires is intolerance. All right, land-based empires have to be tolerant and inclusive. They don't want their people to rebel against them. The maritime-based empires don't need to be nice to people. All right, they've got disease and new weapons, and that's kind of how it rolls. All right. So we are in period 2, and as I said, we are circling back to land-based empires. We only really talked about 3 or 4 of these land-based empires, so today's not a really daunting lesson, but you still need to know it, especially because your exam is coming up. Guys, make sure you also keep in mind you have an AP World History final in my class next week. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go over this with my in-person kids, but for you guys, I gave a SAQ question. You guys should still have access to it on Canvas. This was the question. You had been given a stimulus. I wanted to give you guys some examples of 0 out of 3, 1 out of 3, 2 out of 3, and 3 out of 3. I'm going to spend some more time talking to my in-person kids about these questions and there's answers, but for this video, I'm not going to do that. So a 1 out of 3, which means the only one that this person got right was this last one. All right. 2 out of 3. This person got the first 2 correct, but they did not get this third one correct because they did not give examples. And a 3 out of 3. One thing you might notice is that the 3 out of 3, even the 2 out of 3, students wrote more, right? The more information you have, the better. So that's all I'm going to talk about today. Again, we're in period 2. We're in land-based empires, 1450 to 1750. Pretty serious exam weighting, so keep that in mind for next week and on your May 20th exam. All right, guys, so awesome news for y'all. We only have 3 topics to get through, okay? Land-based empires, 1450 to 1750. Let's talk about these empires. First off, we talked about 4 of these empires. We did not talk about the Russian Empire. And we didn't really talk about the Austrian Habsburg Empire either. All right, we really just talked about the Ottomans, the Safavids, and the Mughals. So, and the Qing. Don't forget the Qing. So with that in mind, guys, make sure you know who these 4 are. Make sure you know the general geographical region. Make sure you understand what religion is practiced and how administration of these empires takes place. All right, so land-based empires, the Ottomans, the Safavids, the Mughals, the Qing. Culture basically stays the same throughout period 2. All right, political systems largely stay the same as well. When I say political systems, I'm really kind of meaning those traits of an empire. So political system is you have the emperor at the top and a large bureaucracy that serves the emperor. Or in the Muslim states, a caliph on top and a large bureaucracy that serves the caliph. Okay. Guys, these empires are going to expand in period 2, and they're going to do it through a series of gunpowder, all right, weaponry, technology, okay? Expansion will rely on the use of gunpowder, cannons, and armed trade. So yes, the Silk Road is going to become armed, all right? These states might be inclusive and tolerant to people within their empires. However, they're not exactly friendly towards each other. Even Muslim states like the Safavids and the Ottomans, all practicing one religion, tend to have conflicts with each other. And while these states are expanding, they also start running up against each other, okay? And so when the Ottomans and the Safavids start running up against each other, they have a religious difference. They both practice Islam, but one is a Sunni, one is a Shiite. And so these 2 empires are going to kind of bang up against each other, causing conflicts, specifically on religion. All right, so if you don't remember what the difference between the Sunnis and the Shiites are, go look that up. That's really important. Now, these empires are administered in a series of ways to make things organized. All right, rulers, caliphs, emperors are going to continue to use bureaucracies. So we talked about what a bureaucracy is. It's kind of like smaller government that serves the emperor and makes sure that the empire is run smoothly. These empires are also going to develop professional militaries. So what is a professional military? Well, it's when you have soldiers and they're trained and they're paid to be soldiers, all right, rather than these conscripts or these people, these poor peasants that are forced into the army. All right, professional militaries are much more effective because people actually know how to fight. All right, and professional militaries are used not only to expand the empire, but also to maintain control over populations and resources. So think about it. In the Ottoman Empire, if there's a group of people that start to think, oh, I'm going to rebel against the caliph just sends in his professional military to sort of quell this rebellion. Okay, professional militaries are important. And we talked a little bit about these, some examples of this administration. We talked about the Devshirme system in the Ottoman Empire. All right, that's this picture here. Little white Christian boys are castrated and then given jobs either up in the Ottoman bureaucracy or in the Janissaries, so it's an elite fighting force in the Ottoman Empire. This way, these white Christian boys are sort of integrated into this Muslim empire. All right, in addition, we also talked about the civil service exam, right? The civil service exam in the Qing Empire. Basically, we talked about this in period 1. You could be the poorest person in China, but if you are smart and you take a civil service exam and you pass it, you too can move up in society. So it's working hard to establish the smartest bureaucracy possible. All right, other components of administration. So rulers are going to use a series of things to make sure that their rule is effective. So what you see in Europe is you see the practice of absolutism. We talked about Louis XIV. Louis XIV was an absolute monarch who practiced absolutism, which is absolute rule, all right, absolute authority. So when you are basically the state, all right, and that is Louis XIV I am the state. When you are basically the leader of a place, you can make decisions and you can rule effectively. And that is exactly what happens in Europe. So Louis XIV is going to pass lots of rules and laws. He's going to commission art, and he's going to commission something called monumental architecture. Monumental architecture is really, really big, beautiful architecture that sort of symbolizes someone's power, okay? So in France, using this Louis XIV analogy, Louis XIV is going to commission the building of something called Versailles. All right, I know you know what Versailles is from all the treaties. Versailles is that massive castle. Think about it, if you're a poor peasant and you're trying to figure out if your ruler is legit at all, and you see a castle that literally has gold-plated walls, you're gonna be like, all right, that guy's legit. In addition to Louis XIV, you're also gonna see monumental architecture in places like the Mughal Empire, right? The Taj Mahal is an example of monumental architecture. This is gonna legitimize the rule. All right, one other way that empires are administered is that empires need to collect taxes. All right, they'll do it in a series of ways, like the tribute collection, tax farming, or sort of, collecting taxes along these trading routes. This is going to generate revenue for state expansion and revenue to build monumental architecture. Okay. Some examples are the Zamindars in the Mughal Empire, as well as the Ming practice of collecting taxes in silver. Where does that silver come from? It comes from the Spanish. All right, everything is connected in period 2. All right, guys, we are almost done. The belief systems. So we've already talked about how mostly the gunpowder empires are ruled by Muslims. All right, the Mughal Empire is a Muslim empire. The Safavids, the Ottomans, Muslim empires. The Qing is traditional Chinese. But other empires and their belief systems during this time also include Christianity. So in Europe at this time, you see the Protestant Reformation. Martin Luther nailing his 99 theses, his 99 issues with the Catholic Church, which sets off a firestorm and creates Protestantism. All right, because Protestantism becomes so popular, Catholicism is forced to reform itself. And that is how Protestantism and Catholicism actually spread throughout the world. So remember, in period 1, Islam is the most important and quick spreading religion. In period 2, that is Christianity. But not all things are well. All right. So obviously, Christianity splits between the Catholics and the Protestants. Islam also splits between the Sunnis and the Shiites. All right. The Ottomans practice one version of Islam, the Safavids practice another. That's why they're constantly kind of at war with each other. A third religion that also was created in the Mughal Empire is called Sikhism. All right. Sikhism later on will be important in period 4 because in period 4, when the British split and partitioned India, the Sikhs will not get their own homeland. Sikhism is kind of an interaction between Hinduism and Islam, okay? Make sure you know what that is. Now, this slide was actually in my Unit 4 stuff, so if you've already written this down, you don't need to do it again, but these next 2 slides are kind of make more sense in the context of Unit 3. So changing social hierarchies. So empires are really important, especially these land-based empires, because they're intolerant and inclusive. They have to be, all right? When you have an empire like the Mughal Empire, which the leaders practice Islam, but the majority of the citizens actually practice Hinduism, you have to be nice to those people if you want tax. You want taxpayer dollars. All right, so what you're gonna see is a lot of these land-based empires are going to accommodate religious and ethnic diversity. All right, an example of that is how the Mughals treat the Hindus, or how the Ottomans utilize the Devshirme system. Remember how the Ottomans recruit white Christian boys. All right, this is important. But this is also going to change social hierarchies. All of a sudden, you're going to have Hindus, which used to be at the bottom, rising up in the ranks of the Mughal Empire because of this inclusivity. So same thing you see in the Ottoman Empire. White Christian boys are going to move up in the ranks of the Ottoman Empire because of this inclusivity. All right, guys, changing social hierarchies, new political and economic elites are going to be created. All right, we said in the Qing Empire, the Qing, who are a group of foreign people, Manchus, are going to create their own sort of ethnic system. All right, remember we said that the Qing are at the top, and if you're not Qing, you had to wear a Q in your hair. All right, you also see new elites in Latin America, the Creoles. So for your in-class work this week, you know, obviously you're watching this because you're trying to review, so you probably can just ignore this part. But if you are, because you missed class on Thursday or Friday, make sure you pay attention to this, and good luck on your test next week, guys. See y'all later.